Tell me about some of the different tours.
Sure. So we have two that include food. The first one is called Tacos and Taps, and the other one is Burgers and Brews. And so both of them start at the brewery. I cannot say enough kind words about Deep River Brewery and their support for our business, as well as just being good to be in our community. They're a great business to partner with. So we start there. Typically what a tour you would look like is we give a little safety speech to make sure that people know how to ride the bikes. We teach them about e-bikes, teach them about different classifications of e-bikes, for example. And then we have them do a couple practice rounds around the parking lot.
I probably would need to do a couple of practice rounds.
Because sometimes people think they know how to ride a bike, and we just need to double check before we hit the highway.
Welcome to another episode of Best of Johnston County, brought to you by Breeden Law Office. Our host, Jonathan Breeden, an experienced family lawyer with a deep connection to the community, is ready to take you on a journey through the area that he has called home for over 20 years. Whether it's a deep dive into the love locals have for the county or unraveling the complexities of family law, Best of Johnston County presents an authentic slice of this unique community.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden, and on today's episode, we have David and Marlo from Triangle Adventure here to talk about their e-bike business, where they take people on tours of Clayton and the surrounding area and throw in drinks and food and history. And I think it's absolutely fascinating. I've been looking forward to this for several weeks since I met them. I really want to do one of these tours here, and I think I will. And I think you're going to find this really fascinating as to what they're doing with tours around Clayton. It's really, really neat. But before we get to them, I wanted to invite you to like, follow, subscribe to the Best of Johnston County Podcast, wherever you're seeing this podcast today, whether it be on Apple, Spotify, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, or Twitter, or any of the other Best of Johnston County media pages. If you like and subscribe, you'll be made aware of future episodes of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. The Best of Johnston County Podcast comes out every single Monday. By now, we're up to almost, maybe by the time this episode runs, 50 episodes of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. It's been a tremendous success. People have really enjoyed it. And if you'd also do us the kind favor of sharing this podcast on your Instagram or any of your other social media channels so other people will be aware, that will be greatly appreciated. David and Marlo, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, no problem. I really am looking forward to this. I'm not the most adventurous person in the world, but I think I could ride an e-bike. So anyway, but before we get to the e-bike stuff, let's start with where are you from? So biography, David.
Biography. I grew up in New York. Basically, my trajectory, I moved to North Carolina to go to school in Charlotte when I was 19, and then hung out there for a while, spent a little too long in college, if you know what I mean. Left there, moved to California for a little while, and eventually came back to Raleigh, where I met my wife, Marlo.
Well, I'm originally from California, so we got the East Coast, West Coast vibe going on. Grew up in California and came over to North Carolina, and specifically Johnston County about 20 years ago. Yeah, just decided that it was a great place to live. And so I've been here for a long time watching the growth of the area. Since being in North Carolina, I attended UNC Chapel Hill. Currently work as a mental health therapist and substance use therapist for Duke.
Okay. Well, at least you moved to the better place, because Duke is better than Chapel Hill. Even though I went to NC State, I married a Duke graduate. So I'm kind of a Duke fan, sort of, if they're not playing state, but we all agree that we don't like Chapel Hill. We don't like.
See, you're gonna open up that can of worms.
I know. I'm just saying.
This for what, 30 seconds?
I know.
This is going great.
No, right. No, Chapel Hill. But we are the ACC champions in basketball, and NC State did go to the Final Four this year, and we've beaten Carolina in football 3 straight years. So we're doing pretty good right now to be a state fan, right? State fans are doing well right now. Well, that's great. So what's your educational background? I said you went to Chapel Hill. What kind of degree did you get?
So I'm a licensed clinical social worker.
Oh, cool.
So I'm licensed to provide mental health, and I'm also a substance use counselor. So I'm a licensed clinical addiction specialist as well.
Oh, cool. All right. And what's your educational background? I know you work for Verizon.
Yeah, I actually work for the nation's largest authorized retailer of Verizon, which I know is a slightly fine line and most people don't care. But basically, I do a lot of Verizon stuff, a lot of paper pushing and communications behind the scenes at the headquarters. So not the most exciting job, but listen, it pays the bills and I really like it.
Well, I've been a Verizon customer for a long time.
Fantastic.
For a long time. I ended up with them because
check afterwards. For saying
right.
That. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I ended up with them after they bought out. Everything got bought out, right? I think at some point I was with Alltel.
Yep.
I mean, and through a couple of different mergers, there's now Verizon. So yeah, they just kept consolidating, kind of like the airline industry. And so it is what it is. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Well, so y'all have this business which provides e-bike tours. So tell me a little bit about when and how did Triangle Adventures come to be?
Well, we both, again, have full-time jobs. We were just kind of on the weekends. What we would do is we would go e-biking on the trail, on the Mountains to Sea Trail, also known as the Greenway Trail, also known as the Neuse River Trail. So that big old trail that goes around Clayton and Raleigh and all around about 1,175 miles of trail. We would just bike on it and walk the dogs on it and run on it. We're pretty active people. We use it all the time. So one day we were just kind of riding our bikes on it, and Marlo goes to me. She was like, are there any tour companies that go on this trail or highlight this trail? Like, I can't believe more people aren't on the trail today, because it was this gorgeous fall day and it was beautiful foliage, and we're just walking around like, I cannot believe there aren't more people out here. And we started looking deeper into it and found out that there used to be a Segway tour in Raleigh a while back, and they went out of business and there's nobody doing tours. So we were like, we love history. We love scenery. We love a little beer every now and again. We love biking. We love just, doing fun things. And we had e-bikes at the time. So we were like, man, what if we could pull all these things together and do a tour company? And she sort of threw the idea out there, and she's more the creative piece of it. I'm more of like all right, let's put the rubber to the road and like actually start making phone calls and setting up the website and really digging into it. And we started, mapping out the tours and learning the history. And we've now got 4 tours. All of them go on the Greenway, a little bit on public roads as well, because we got to get to the hot spots that we stop at. But our newest tour is now a ghost tour as well, and that goes into Raleigh. But our Clayton tours in Johnston County are pretty awesome tours, and they're largely on the Greenway, and they have a lot of cool stuff in them.
Well, cool. Well, tell me a little bit about what's involved in these tours, where they go. I know there's one that includes lunch and starts and ends at Deep River Brewing there in downtown Clayton. There's one that is just the trail and doesn't go into downtown. So I guess tell me about some of the different tours.
You want to take that one?
Sure. So we have 2 that include food. The first one is called Tacos and Taps, and the other one is Burgers and Brews. And so both of them start at the brewery. I cannot say enough kind words about Deep River Brewery and their support for our business, as well as just being good to be in our community. They're a great business to partner with. So we start there. Typically what a tour you would look like is we give a little safety speech to make sure that people know how to ride the bikes. We teach them about e-bikes, teach them about different classifications of e-bikes, for example. And then we have them do a couple practice rounds around the parking lot.
Yeah, I probably would need to do a couple practice rounds.
Because sometimes people think they know how to ride a bike, and we just need to double check before we hit the highway.
We had somebody go out on a bike, small size, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we had somebody go out on a bike, and they started doing their practice laps. About 3 laps in, she goes, how do I stop this thing? Yeah. And we go, the brakes. She goes, where are the brakes? We're like, God. And we ran over there. It was wild. So we made sure to include where the brakes are from that point forward. That was a scary moment. Yeah. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. So we start at the brewery, and we make sure everyone's fitted, ready to go. We provide helmets and talk about that safety, give instructions, and then we head on out of the brewery and make it to our first stop, which is actually the local cemetery, the historic cemetery in downtown Clayton, the city cemetery. So that's a good part of where we are able to check in on people as far as how the bikes are feeling and safety, and then also begin the fun history. So after we stopped there, and I don't want to give away too much of the history, but some real interesting facts and people who are residing there currently will say. And it also is just a neat place to be in Clayton because you can see certain areas of the town, such as the corner of O'Neill and Front Street. And that is very much where our town began because that's where Stalling Stations was. And that's what the town of Clayton once was called. So we talk about that and kind of educate people. And then we get back on our way and we head on down to our next stop, which is at the Clayton Spinning Mill. So then we talk about the history of textiling in Clayton and give history on that building, as well as textiling in North Carolina. And from there, we leave and we head on for lunch. So if we go for tacos that day, we go to El Patron, which if you guys have not gone there, amazing.
So good.
Food.
Yeah.
I am biased because I am from California, so I feel like I have a good taste for Mexican food, and it is really delicious.
She does.
And then we also, for our other stop, when we're doing the burgers and brews, we stop at Vincent's. And again, great local business partner and also a lot of fun history in that building because it's a historic site in Clayton. After that, we load on up and we head downtown and then we weave our way onto the Greenway. But we stop first at the very beginning, which is at Legend Park. So we talk a bit about safety on the trail and being respectful to others, and as well as educating people on the trail as far as how long it is, how long it took to build, how much money it costs to build, all that sort of stuff. Then we head on out again and we ride for quite a way on the Greenway. We end up on one of the bridges on the Greenway that go over Neuse River, which is again another talking point where we talk about the Neuse River, the wildlife in the Neuse River, the contaminants entering the Neuse River, and educate people on the progress that we've made in helping to clean up the river.
As well as population growth and like all that we've seen in the area.
Yeah, the population growth and how it affects our environment. Turn on around and we head on back with one more stop where we talk about the Native Americans that once lived in Johnston County. And then we also talk about nothing else but liquor.
Best of Johnston County, baby.
Well, Johnston County,
right?
Johnston County has got a history with moonshining and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So
how NASCAR came to be as well.
Well, and Percy Flowers, and there's a lot of
anything away, but he's
a lot of
stories.
a lot of stories of Johnston County involving moonshine.
Yeah.
And all throughout the trip, we're checking in with people, making sure that everyone's comfortable and safe. Dave here leads the group, so they follow him, and I'm at the very back. So that way, if there's people who are less comfortable going faster, I'm back there with them, and we all end up in the same place. We also have a book that we carry with us to show pictures. We're able to show historical pictures of what it used to look like compared to what it looks like now.
Yep.
And then we weave our way back to the brewery and, of course, end with beer.
I could
with a little beer in the middle, too. We want to make sure you guys have good samples of local stuff.
Right. So that tour is 3-4 hours?
3 hours long.
3 hours long.
Yes.
And then there is a tour that is just the Greenway.
Yes.
The Mountains of Green Sea Trail.
Yep.
And that one's 2 hours long?
Exactly.
Is it cover the same part as the other one, or is it a different part of the trail?
So the 2 hour tour is a different part of the trail. It starts on Covered Bridge Road at the trailhead right there and goes down in the direction of Raleigh. Beautiful scenery down there. Really nice, long white fences, wide open fields, really, really nice, just rolling pastures and beautiful skyline. And it's really more focused on the scenery. Now, granted, the Burgers and Brews tour, as well as our ghost tour, we'll talk about that in a minute, but all of it goes in the Greenway. And the Greenway inherently is really pretty. You can't find an ugly spot on the Greenway, but if you really want some of the most beautiful scenery and picturesque, almost postcard bridges with the trees around it, and like especially in sort of the fall season where there's like the foliage is starting to change, it does not get any better than the scenery tour. It's beautiful.
Okay. Well, that sounds cool. And for those of y'all listening, if you want to hear more about the construction of the Mountains of Sea Trail and the future of it and the extension of it, go back and listen to Adrian O'Neill, who was on the Best of Johnston County podcast back in January of 2024. And we talk about the Mountains of the Sea Trail and it's, kind of how it came to be and its future. I think you'll find that fascinating. It's going to continue to grow. They're not done with it, and it's going to continue to be built probably throughout the next, maybe for the rest of my life. I mean, right? I mean, but I mean, it's not done, and so, but the area around Clayton really is beautiful. All right, so then there is a ghost tour, which is new.
Yeah, we're proud of this one.
I'm afraid of ghosts, but all right.
Yeah.
So
we love all our tours, but this is our newest one, and we've got a couple of sort of cool surprises, like the party trick and the fun trick that the food and drink tours have is that they've got food and drink on them, and there's some really cool history and scenery involved as well. But there's a few wild party tricks on the ghost tour that is a lot of fun and is pretty surprising to people. It's not, it's not nothing wild. It's nothing like boo scary or anything like that. So if you're the type of person that doesn't like scary movies, you'll be fine on this tour. But we have a couple really neat surprises that I don't want to divulge here, but it's worth it.
So where does the ghost tour go?
So you can take that.
It starts on the Art to Heart Trail. So it starts at the Raleigh Art Museum. And so that's where we begin the tour. And again, similar fashion as the Clayton, making sure that people can ride bikes and everyone's safe. And then we have, some stops around there where we talk about the history of Raleigh and the area, such as the Art Museum, for example, is built on an ancient Indian burial ground. So that helps with, sharing some of the hauntings and explaining some of the activity in that area. So we share stories that involve history because we can't have hauntings without history. We continue on to the trail. We make a stop at Meredith College. Meredith College is one of the most known haunted campuses in the United States, actually, which some people are unaware of that. So we talk about some of the hauntings and why, the history behind that. And then from there, we continue on and we go to Dorothea Dix. So Dorothea Dix, there's some stories to be told. It has several names: Raleigh State Hospital, the Insane Asylum of Raleigh, the Dorothea Dix Hospital, Dix Hill. So talk about the history of there. That involves Civil War, that involves being our first mental health hospital here in North Carolina. And so, some of the tragedies that happened there when people thought they were doing the right reason for mental health, which of course is close to my heart because I work in mental health. So sharing some of that history and some of the hauntings that come from that.
So is that a night tour?
Well, we can't do it at night for safety reasons.
Okay.
Because we got to make sure everybody stays safe. It would be too risky to do if it was full blackout.
Okay.
But we do it a little closer to the evening, so it's a little cooler first, and second, when it's going to get dark a little more in the September-October range, so it'll be more dusk. We just have to make sure there's some light for safety reasons.
Okay.
But trust me, it's creepy.
I mean,
it's fun.
I mean, Dorothea Dix Hospital.
If you haven't
creepy.
been there, if you haven't walked by it, everyone out there in podcast land, if you haven't gone by there, it's creepy just walking through it and walking around it and seeing the outside in daylight.
It is creepy, and they're going to build a beautiful park there, and it's going to be a beautiful park whenever they get it done. I don't know exactly when. I know they've started working on it a little bit, but I know the city of Raleigh plans to make that really a destination park, similar to Central Park in New York City. Not the size of Central Park, but something like that.
I mean,
with a lot of different stuff.
Like, it's a really big, really cool park. That's where they do the fireworks and all that stuff. I mean, it's pretty cool. But the Insane Asylum piece is wild, and we've got some great stories that come out of there. True stories.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Cemeteries,
and now
some marked graves.
Yeah, and so for those of you who are wondering, the State Mental Health Hospital is now in Butner, North Carolina, down the street from the federal prison in Butner. And I've had a chance to visit, being a family law attorney, I've had a chance to visit the new hospital in Butner. It is modern and if you're going to be in a hospital, nice. And I've had a chance to visit the prison in Butner, which had Bernie Madoff and other famous prisoners. I think maybe right now R. Kelly might be there, or at least he was there at one point. So yeah. So anyway, yeah. So
he's got a full bladder.
Right. So anyway, but that's where the state hospital is now. It's in Butner, North Carolina. So it's not Dorothea Dix anymore. But just looking at Dorothea Dix Hospital, it's a spooky looking building. Yeah. So I can imagine that your tour is spooky enough just being there.
If you've ever seen like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or Nurse Ratched, those old early 1900s and late 1800s insane asylums with like the straight jackets and the padded rooms and people like rocking back and forth, that's Dorothea Dix.
Right.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. Right. There's no doubt about that. So Well, that's cool. That's cool. So,
Have family law questions? Need guidance to navigate legal challenges? The compassionate team at Breeden Law Office is here to help. Visit us at www.breedenfirm.com for practical advice, resources, or to book a consultation. Remember, when life gets messy, you don't have to face it alone.
so when do these tours run? I mean, y'all both have real jobs right now. This may replace it,
This
but
may replace it.
this may replace
Yeah.
it, but it's not replaced it yet. So when are the tours available?
Every weekend we run some kind of tour. We run usually a couple tours a week. Most of them fall on the weekends. We also do them occasionally on Thursday evenings, but we can work with people. We're flexible. We have fairly flexible job schedules. So if anybody's interested in doing a tour, just shoot us an email and we can work something out with you and try to work around your guys' schedule or whatever schedule.
Okay, cool. And these tours they're very reasonably priced.
Yeah. They start at $59. The scenic tour is $59, and then they go up to $99. Our highest one is $99 for the food and drink tours, but they include food and drink also. So it's really a good value. You're going to get a little bit of beer, or on the tacos tour, margaritas, which are fantastic at that. Patron restaurant, if you're a margarita fan, it's like top shelf. So we include all that in the price of the tour, and the ghost tour is $69.
Okay, well that's
2.5 hour tour.
I mean that's great. That's great. It really looks like a lot of fun.
There's a lot packed into that.
I need to do it. I think I can ride an e-bike, but I will have to. Yeah, I mean it's been a long time since I rode a bike I've never ridden an e-bike, so I will have to definitely take the lesson in the parking lot.
For sure.
Like, how do you stop this thing, right?
Anyone that's not ridden an e-bike before, it is identical to a regular bike. It just helps a little bit with the pedaling. So if you can ride a regular bike, you can ride an e-bike. And if you don't really like to pedal, if you're a little maybe out of shape and you're not really feeling it, it's got a throttle like a moped. So you don't even have to pedal. It just goes. So
cool.
Super easy.
Well, cool. And one thing we were talking about before we started recording, you're going to maybe start doing some group biking for some mental health?
Yeah, so we've been kind of playing around with the idea, and it's moving into a plan. So I've done years of group therapy for substance use treatment as well as women's groups, and at some point in time I've done some men groups as well. And so what we would like to do for our county is to do a women's group to where we would take the e-bikes on the trail, and so that way we're connecting people with nature, as well as stopping on the trail for check-ins, some group therapy from woman to woman, and being able to really support one another. So my hopes are that we'll be able to do that on a Thursday. So we'd be doing Thursday night women's group is what we're planning on doing. And then some of the proceeds we would like to donate to Harbor House, which is for abused and battered. It's a domestic violence program here in Johnston County.
Yeah, Harbor House is great. We've talked about them on previous episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we'll be able to get somebody on from them. I've worked with them for many years. They do a great job of providing a place for women to go that don't have a place to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they also provide counseling for women that are in domestic violence relationships on how to get out, how to stay out of these relationships. They also provide some vocational training and some job skills. They work closely with Johnston County Department of Social Services to do that. It's a tremendous group. They have a 24-hour harbor. They have a 24-hour crisis phone line and a 24-hour shelter that you can go to that is safe. It's harborshelter.org. It's a tremendous organization here in Johnston County. And a lot of them know them because they had the stores where they used to resell the clothes and stuff like that. I don't know if they still have those. They may still have one in Clayton, but I'm not sure. So where they would take donations and they would sell the clothes and they would use that money to help fund the shelter. So yeah, the Harbor is a tremendous group here in Johnston County and does a great job. And I'm a big supporter of theirs. So, well, that's cool. So how would people be able to, I mean, y'all do these tours year round or is it seasonal?
It's a bit seasonal because it's no fun when it's freezing cold and everybody's just a little bit miserable.
Right.
It's way easier to do in the summer. Like, yeah, sometimes in August it's hot, but it feels cooler on the e-bikes. But when it's 40 degrees, it feels way cooler on the e-bikes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not as much fun in the winter. So we do it. We stop really at the end of October. So like Halloween's kind of our last run. And then we start back up March 1st.
Okay. All right. Cool. And how would people reach out to y'all to book one of these tours?
Best way to do it, go to our website, www.triangle-adventures.com. And you can always go to our Instagram, or our Instagram is just at Triangle Adventures. Our Facebook is actually at RTP Adventures. Go figure. If anybody can help us fix that, let us know.
Right. All right. Well, that's cool. So there's lots of different ways to get in touch with you. And these tours are for up to 10 people.
Yes.
Can't be more than 10.
Correct. Yeah. When we get a line of 10 people in the group, it's quite a long line, and we just need to make sure everyone's safe. So for that reason, for safety reasons, we have to cap it at 10.
Right. And this is good for, I was thinking about taking my leadership team. So it's good for corporate outings, birthday parties, bachelor parties,
team builders,
families.
Yeah. Come to town, family outings, even just couples and date nights. A lot of people just sign up in groups of 2, and that's great too. Anybody that's just looking to do something, get outside, make memories. We have a lot of great scenic sort of photo op moments that are really fun out there. So just something new and different to do. And it's totally safe. It's totally fun. And if you haven't ridden a bike in a while, it's totally fine.
Yeah. And you have to be at least 13 years old, correct?
Yep. 13 years old. And you have to be able to be semi-competent on a bike. You can't just have never ridden a bike in your whole life as a 13-year-old and jump on the e-bikes and go.
All right.
They are a little bit heavy. We just got to make sure everyone's safe. That's
which makes me want to mention, because even though our focus is food and drinks on the food and drinks tour, you do not have to consume alcohol. If you choose not to, we also can provide mocktails or just a soda, because not everybody drinks.
And vegetarian options are available as well for all our food and drinks. So non-alcoholic and vegetarian options are available. If you just come out for the hangout and the history and the greenway and the scenery, we have lots of people that do that. So don't be put off by the potential for beer or whatever. We can substitute anything you want.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, the last question we ask everybody on the Best of Johnston County podcast: what do you love most about Johnston County? And each of you get to answer.
You've been here for 20 years, so.
So I have to say it is the Greenway. I've been here so long that I've watched it develop. I used to go on there before it was paved and run with my dog and climb across bridges not set up yet to get to the other side. So I've watched this Greenway from its birth, and I just love the fact that we have it here. I think it's a great resource for all of us here in Johnston County to get out and exercise and appreciate nature. So by far, that is my favorite part of being here, is to have access.
Mountain to the Sea Trail. That's awesome. It really is great. What's your favorite part about Johnston County?
Besides the Greenway, which I also love. I'm a huge fan of it. But I came from New York, and New York is so different than here. And I love the contrast of having a sort of small town. We live in Clayton, so small town with an old soul. And although it's growing a lot, it's still miles different than New York. So I appreciate the sort of slightly more laid back culture, just kind of down home feeling. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I just appreciate it. Don't get me started on the New York Chamber of Commerce. It's just a madhouse. This is so much better, so much more stress free. I just love living in a little bit of a smaller town.
Well, and that's how we met, was through the Clayton Chamber of Commerce and Dana Wooten, who was on a previous episode. I'm not sure which order the episodes are going. We've recorded an episode with Dana Wooten, so she may have already run when this one runs, or maybe not, but definitely find that one. I think you'll find it fascinating. Dana Wooten and I've been friends for a very long time, and she's done a great job with the Clayton Chamber of Commerce, and that's a great way to network if you're a small business owner or you want to know more people in the community, is to go to several of their events. And now they're having events in Cleveland, which is where my primary office is. And we met at the Cleveland Draft House a few weeks ago. That was a ton of fun.
And rates were so good.
Yeah, right. Now the Cleveland Draft House is great. Scott Joseph and them do an excellent job there, and have since 2006. Well, we'd like to thank Triangle Adventures for coming on and being our guest on today's episode of the Best of Johnston County podcast. As we mentioned earlier, if you would do us the favor of following, liking, and subscribing to this podcast wherever you saw it, and share this podcast with your friends on Instagram or your other social media people. Give a shout out to Triangle Adventures down at the bottom. We'll definitely get them. We'll make sure they see all the comments that are made about their business, and give them a call. I think it's fascinating. I'm glad this has come to Clayton, and I'm trying to bring more interesting guests that maybe are not the most traditional guests to this, so you can know about other types of businesses in Johnston County. So keep listening. We're going to have more and more of these interesting guests in the future. Until next time, I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden.
That's the end of today's episode of Best of Johnston County, a show brought to you by the trusted team at Breeden Law Office. We thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more interesting facets of this community next week. Every story, every viewpoint adds another thread to the rich tapestry of Johnston County. If the legal aspects highlighted raise some questions, help is just around the corner at www.breedenfirm.com.